In each bid, we refer to the lottery that we are bidding in that particular case, things that are not permanent information, but things that change from lottery to lottery, bid to bid. So in this case right here, this is MIPAL HIPIS, and you have a reference here to California Lottery because that's where information came from. Down here you have a reference to Idaho Lottery because that's where that information got seeded from. So what we're going to start doing, instead of doing a simple replace of text, we're actually going to start inputting document property. And so this entire time, we've had properties, you see them in the footers and headers that hold a document property. One of the ones that we've not really used in the text is this here, the lottery name. In this case, I've already put in a lottery name for MIPAL HIPIS. This would be done at the beginning when the author documents are created by desktop. So what you would do is you would come down here, highlight your lottery name, come back up here and hit this lottery name button, and it gets replaced. You'll see that if you normally click somewhere, your cursor just exists. But if you click on this, which is now a field, you notice that the whole thing is highlighted. Okay. And technically, if you want to see what it looks like, if you toggle it, this is what it looks like. It says document property lottery name. Okay. And so what that's doing is it's taking off of the document property. Same thing down here. We'll highlight this and we'll click lottery name, and it also changed. So two things to consider when you're doing this. It's going to try to read whether there's a space or something else afterwards. So in the case up here, it realizes there's no space after, so it doesn't add one. Down here, there would have been a space after, so it added one back in. But sometimes when you highlight things in Word, it'll take the space after no matter what. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. It's also going to look at apostrophe S's. This is a little bit of an odd situation because MIPAL HIPIS ends in an S. So technically you'd have to take this S off, whereas before it was Idaho Lotteries, which had an S. That you don't have to do that so often. Generally the apostrophe S will be correct. It's just something that, these are two things that you'll have to kind of just pay attention to during your editing process. So now these have been changed, they're perfectly fine. If something about this were wrong, desktop could very easily change this, in multiple documents throughout the document. So it's a very easy change. If you ever think something about this is incorrect, just tell desktop and they can fix it. And obviously this is something that desktop and the PMs will have to communicate at the beginning to make sure we're getting the right name. So in situations where we use something else other than maybe just their standard lottery name, that we get that correct. We want to get it correct at the beginning. Again, it can be corrected, but we would like to get it correct in the beginning. Let's say that MIPAL HIPIS is done. We've come back and then somebody goes to seed and they get all this information here out of MIPAL HIPIS, and they come here to put it into North Carolina Education Lottery. Right now, when you first put it, it still says MIPAL HIPIS. If you Control A will select all the information. Anytime you want to do anything to the entire document, Control A will select everything. F9, and it goes to NCEL. In this particular file, the document property has been set to NCEL. And this is where that's very important to pay attention to what we're actually putting in there, since we don't actually call it North Carolina Education Lottery throughout. But just like that, this entire document is fixed. All the MIPAL HIPISs are gone, and it's now NCEL, no search and replace like we would normally have to do. And here's a good example again, that because I changed the apostrophe S before, I'd have to now go back in and make sure my S's are on the end. We'd only have to do that so many times because most things don't end in an S, but just something we'd have to pay attention in the editing process.